Reading completely transforms your brain in a very real way, both physically and in the way it processes. Now, in 2000, there was a study that was done that showed the average human attention span was about 12 seconds. They did the same study later, 15 years later, in 2015, and they found that attention spans had plummeted down to 8 seconds, full 25% down. This is 2015 now. Obviously, that correlated with the rise of smartphones, with the rise of the beginnings of social media. Now, 10 years later from that, imagine how bad it is with the introduction of TikTok, with the omnipresence of cell phones in our life, with Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Our attention span is definitely much lower than even that 8 seconds. I think a great way to combat this is through reading. This is how reading restructures your brain. Now, there is a part of your brain called the left temporal cortex. This was found to be super active the next day in participants who engaged in a study where they read the night before and then they would do studies on their brain. It was still much more active even 5 days later. This part of the brain is responsible for language processing. There's a different part of the brain that I'm going to pronounce wrong, but it's responsible for the physical awareness of your body and for physical sensation in general. This was also active in people reading fiction. You were able to place yourself into the shoes of these people, and your body almost physically goes through what they're going through. This is why so many people will say, this fiction story changed my life. You literally went through a physical process while turning these pages, while when the character runs, your body and the neurons in your body almost act as if you're running as well. So fiction can powerfully change the way that you are. Now, in this modern age, we're constantly task switching. Instead of singular focused concentration, even if we're doing research, we're going from one web page to the next, one portion of this study to a different portion. When you read a book, even nonfiction, it's completely linear. It starts with one idea, it introduces the beginning of it, and then it builds on that idea. It's a singular focus that goes from beginning to end. To get good at anything, to get excellent at anything, you need deliberate practice, you need deep work, you need long periods of time where you're singularly focused on one portion of getting better. This is how you fully acquire skill at a high level. We can only do that if we bring back the parts of our brain that have been so neglected, that are responsible for singular focus, for that deep work part where you can just focus on one thing for a prolonged period of time. There have been studies that have shown that people that read regularly are far less likely to get Alzheimer's, and completely different rates of cognitive degeneration. That's naturally going to happen as you get older, but the rates of it are far, far lower for people that read regularly. Next, people that read fiction, especially with complex characters frequently, tested way better in empathy tests, in emotional intelligence tests, and in just perspective tasking tests. When you read a book, you place yourself in the shoes of the character and in their thoughts as well, and you're able to see things through someone else's eyes. People that read in fiction regularly tested far, far greater than the people that just read fiction, nonfiction, or didn't read at all. Next, in stress relieving tests, compared to different forms of stress relieving activities like listening to music, drinking tea, reading a book was 68% better than anything else tested. Just 6 minutes of reading was 68% better than any other form of stress relieving methods that were tested. With kids that read at a young age, they do far better in school, and even kids that were born with dyslexia, when introduced an intensive reading program, they were able to reverse their dyslexia and begin to recognize letters and language. So it really can restructure your brain completely. it also makes you better at talking. Now, there's the obvious portion where the language processing portions of your brain are almost going through a workout when you're reading. It's like a form of going to the gym for your brain. So you can formulate language better, it improves your vocabulary, but not just that, it physically makes you better at talking. I saw a video from Huberman recently where he talked about when you read, even though your lips aren't moving, your vocal cords are doing micro actions and actually sounding out each of the words as you read. So you're going through the physical motions, the physical exercise of talking and formulating words with your vocal cords, so it'll physically make you better at speaking. I know for me, books have drastically changed the way that I question the world. I've had paradigm shifts many times with reading. Just reading fiction from a young age. I liked fantasy a lot when I was younger. It made me want to live the adventure of some of these characters. It allowed me to think of different perspectives that I wouldn't have normally. Reading physically restructures your brain, allows for better memory, allows you to place yourself in other people's shoes, allows you to process language much better, and allows you to regain your attention. For all these reasons, reading is so powerful and has these massive effects on the way that you go about yourself within the world. I would highly recommend adding fiction as well, not just nonfiction, adding this routine, this action into your life.